Well, first of all, we have in front of us a selection of 5. We have, starting here, these are the mission cards. And these describe mission objectives and rewards for completing them. So at various stages, I'm assuming, obviously we'd shuffle them and we'd take the top card, and in this case we would get Show Them No Mercy. It is obvious you do not possess the fortitude to do what must be done, and it has fallen on men such as myself to do it for you. The objective is end your movement phase on another player's space, and the reward for doing that is you take all heretic and traitor trophies from that player. So that's those. So it just basically tells you what you do throughout the game to gain further items and such. The next ones we have are the corruption cards, which are these ones with the mark of chaos, or the 8-pointed chaos star on the back. Now these ones represent mutations that can affect players in both positive and negative ways. So for instance, if we turn over the top card, we have the Blood Rage. The slightest threatening move from an adversary sends you into a blind fury from which there is no escape. You hurl yourself fearlessly into battle, and this one you cannot evade enemies. Let's have a look at some more. Warp Frenzy. At times great strength flows through you, but it leaves as suddenly as it came. Once per battle you may reroll one of your battle dice, and if the rerolled die produces the same result as your first roll, you'll lose a life. So weird things can happen with that one by the sound of it. The next set of cards we have are the Relic cards, which are these with the Thunderhammer on the back. And these ones are representative of sacred artifacts that have powerful abilities. So this one, for instance, is the Ark of Secrets, and at the end of your movement phase you may secretly look at the top card of one threat deck, then place that card on the top or bottom of that deck. So it could be useful for whoever. Now if we look back at the character card for this, it says here, if you remember, asset limit 8. You can carry, this is one of the asset cards, you can carry 8 cards which has asset on it, if you can see that. So that's what that is. I'm not sure whether I managed to explain that properly beforehand or not. Mind you, I never know whether I've explained things properly. Okay, we've got 2 more sets of cards. And go with the biggest one first, which is the power cards, and these grant players temporary abilities and bonuses. Each power card describes the effects and timing of the ability or bonus it provides. So if I just take one at random, which will be, I'll just take the top one. Okay, this is Infiltrate. And you play at the start of your engagement phase, and you may evade any enemies until the end of this turn. There you go, that's kind of useful. Test of Honour. Play when the active player enters or attempts to leave your space during his movement phase. The active player must immediately end his movement phase and give you one of his ally assets. So that's that. So they seem to be quite helpful during the game. And finally we have War Gear cards. And these, as sounds obvious, but they represent weapons, armour and equipment players can acquire during the game. So again, if we take the top card, we have the Mark II Combat Carapace, and if you lose a strength battle you may spend one of those lightning things from this card to prevent the loss of 1 life from that battle. So I'm assuming that you put charge tokens on it, which are, I'm trying to get into my little tub because I've separated them all and put them into a tub because I'm that way inclined. So when you get this card, you put 3 of these on it. It tells you there. These are charges, so when you lose a strength you can take that off and you don't lose any life. That's handy. Okay, and going back to the character card again, so you place one of your character tokens on this character sheet. Well, the character token will be that. You've got one that's brown, purple, a green and a grey that coincide with the brown, purple, green and grey pegs that your character is standing on. Okay, so that's those cards done with. These ones are influence tokens, and these are currency that you can accumulate and spend during the game. So every now and again you'll be told you can claim any number of these. I think it does show you on some of these, yeah, on the Rattling Sniper, once you level up you can gain them that way. So that's that. The other cards that I got a little bit stuck with yesterday when I was looking them up, well, not when I was looking them up, when I was opening the game and showing, I'll get them out now. We have a blue deck, a yellow deck, a red deck. These are the threat deck, and there's 3 different threat decks. When the rulebook and card text refers to the colour of a threat card, it is referring to the deck in which that card belongs. For example, a red threat card is any card that originated from the red threat deck. Each threat deck is largely composed of enemies, however events, encounters and assets are present as well. For thematic consistency, each threat deck has common attributes and enemy types. So the red threat deck, which is that one, obviously, the majority of the enemies in the red threat deck have a strength attribute and the orc trait. The blue threat deck, the majority of the enemies in the blue threat deck have a willpower attribute and the tyrannid trait. And the yellow threat deck have a cunning attribute and the eldar trait. Okay, so once again, while we're waiting, I thought I'd go over some of the bits on the threat cards. I'm going to use 2 out of the red threat deck. And first of all, let's start off at the top. We've got the title of the card. So we've got encounter and we've got an enemy. So the title for this one is Order Hospitaller Sanctuary, and the title for this one is Death Skull Squigs. Next you've got the type and trait, and that is the part underneath there, which is encounter and place, and enemy and orc. So that is the type and trait. Next we have the ability, which is the text underneath the cards there. So for the Order Hospitaller Sanctuary, you may spend 1 recharge from this, or 1 charge from this card to gain 1 life. So you put 3 charges on this, and whenever you're short of life and you land on this one, you can take one of the charges and gain a life. And it says, the blessings of the Emperor surely reside in this place, where those who fight in his name can rest and regain their energy. For the Death Skull Squigs, we have special timing, and it says, during your exploration phase, this enemy adds the following threat icon to its space. So the threat icon on there is the Chaos one. I'm not exactly certain what that does, it doesn't really say anything about it on here. So it does. Some threat cards contain threat icons. These cards add the threat icons to the space they are on during each exploration phase. These icons have no effect during other phases of the game. Threat icons on cards function similarly to threat icons on the game board. They force the active player to draw an additional card during his draw threat cards step, including the step in which the card containing a threat icon is placed on a space. Not pleasant. So next we have the attribute, and the attribute is the number. An icon that appears on some cards has no inherent... the icon colour corresponds to an attribute type, so it's strength, willpower, cunning, and the number is the enemy's attribute value, so in that case it would be strength because it's red. Next we have the Omen icon, which neither of these have, but that one does. That's the Omen icon, and the icon appears on some cards. It has no inherent effect but interacts with some abilities. So until we sort of play a game, I don't think we'll actually work out what that means. And next, another charge icon, which I've covered earlier. The number of charge tokens placed on the card when it first enters play. So I mentioned that earlier when I was reading out this part. Okay, so that's it for the overview of the cards.